Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome to the Ottoman Empire Developer Q&A. I think we're live on Twitch right now. So today we're going to be going over some community-driven questions. We've curated quite a few questions from some of the members in our community. We're going to be going over some gameplay. We're going to show you some trailers, and we're going to show you what the game's all about. We pre-recorded the gameplay yesterday over Steam Remote Play. And obviously, considering the circumstances we're all in as a development team at the moment, I'm in the office. The rest of the team is working remotely. And yeah, let's get this thing going. Right, so welcome, guys and girls. So a little bit of an introduction to the team that's going to be walking you through the Q&A today. That's myself. I'm the managing director at Try Interactive. I'm Kieran Rogers, and we also have Simran with us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Simran. I'm the community manager on the Otterman Empire. Nice to have you with us today.
How are you, Simran?
I'm very fine, thank you, Kieran. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm a little bit warm, but I'm not too bad.
Very lovely weather today in the UK, hottest day of the year.
Yep. Can we give a shout out actually for a second? To Cool Kid Kanan for welcoming us to the stream. It's nice to have you. So yeah, it'd be me and Simran today walking you through some of the gameplay, some of the multiplayer gameplay that we've been playing yesterday with the team. And we'll just go. Yeah, we'll just go through some of the features, some of the characters, some of the environments, and some of the gameplay that you'll see in a week's time, launching on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PC. Yeah, we'll get started. The Ottoman Empire is a fast action party shooter, and it's set in outer space, in a world of anthropomorphic otters, way far away from Earth. And it's been in development for 3 years now. We kind of set out to make a fast action party game, a game that people can kind of enjoy together, on the same couch, in the same room, and kind of get that dynamic that we all grew up loving and enjoying. You can buy it on the 2nd of July, like I said, on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PC, for $19.99. Okay. Yeah, so hi Carnage, would love to shout you out. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, let's jump straight into the gameplay. As you can see here, we've got a four-player match. It's a free-for-all match, and it features some of our iconic characters from the Ottoman Empire, and kind of highlights some of the different skills, the different abilities of the characters. The Ottoman Empire features a host of objectives. It's a round-based system, so you play 3 rounds per match, and in each round, the features a different objective. So online is definitely something we would love to look into. We're going to be supporting the Ottoman Empire post-release for a number of years. We have a whole host of content ready and waiting to come after we've released the game. We work with our community quite closely, so we'd love to go back and forth with them over the next few months to kind of get a gauge of what they want from the Ottoman Empire and how we can work with them to implement those features. Hi Dan.
Hi Dan.
Dan's Distillery. Hey Dan, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for joining us, Dan.
on this warm summer day. So as you can see from the gameplay, our kind of split screen gameplay is at the core of the Ottoman Empire. That's kind of informed how we structured the locations, we've structured the characters. Less about hiding and kind of avoiding your opponent. It's all about these fast minute rounds that throw you into the action and kind of highlight your strengths and weaknesses as a player. We want to give different people the different opportunities to play as their favorite character. Yes, so each of the characters feature their own special ability. We have Mr. Bubbles in the top left corner at the moment. He detaches his legs from his body and is used as kind of a self-detonated bomb. Astrid, for instance, in the bottom left, she has her kind of trusty drone that she takes with her everywhere. And then Noah in the bottom right corner, he has fish in the barrel, as Chris likes to call it, where there's a flurry of fish that kind of rains down from the sky. Like we said, we've got 8 characters, and each one of them features their own special ability. So thank you for that question. So the question was, what was your main inspiration while making the game? There was a few. As we were aiming for kind of the Nintendo Switch platform, we were having a look at some of the hosts of games that are on offer at the moment, and we really took to kind of the multiplayer, the fun, the lightheartedness of Splatoon, and we use that as kind of a basis for a lot of our inspiration, because what they do in terms of game design and multiplayer design is really interesting. We have other inspirations such as the likes of Overcooked, which kind of dominate that party game scene, and we've taken a lot of inspiration from how they do kind of their micro objectives.
Mario Kart was also another one for us.
Yeah, Mario Kart again. Mario Kart's a big one, which is kind of ease of accessibility for players, so you don't have to be the most adept at playing third-person shooters, but we want you to be able to jump in and enjoy yourself nonetheless. Let me have a look. Yeah, so we're in Ancient Ota as a free-for-all, and the objective this round is... Let me have a look. So this is Hoop Dive. This is one of our traversal-based objectives, where each character has like a front, back, side kind of dive and strafe, and you must use that coupled with your jetpack to destroy the hoops around the levels. What we wanted to do with the different objectives is we wanted to offer a host of different challenges for the players. So if you're into traversal, Hoop Dive is kind of the one for you. If you straight up firefighting, we've got shootouts for that purpose. Detonator is all about avoiding your enemy and maintaining distance away from your enemy. And then we have things like Repair the Robot, where you are gathering and repairing robots. So you're gathering pieces and putting those pieces together. Thank you for that question, Cool Kid Kanan. Will it release on PS4 one day? We would love to see if we could kind of find a home for the Ottoman Empire on PlayStation, but at the moment we're kind of we're not ready to say yet. We'll see what the future holds for the Ottoman Empire on PlayStation 4. So Simran, do you want to maybe go over some of the locations that you'll find in the Ottoman Empire? Give a little bit of an overview of the different locations and what characters they represent.
Of course, so we have 8 maps within the Ottoman Empire, and each one belongs to one of our main characters. So we have our first map, which is what most of you may have seen on our socials, which we kind of use as kind of like the sort of like the primary map, which is Otterpolis, which is our city map. We have Tico's Gardens, who is our main villain within the game, which is his back gardens into his massive mansion, which you'll play. That's actually a team favourite. You'll see some gameplay in that alongside the stream at some point. We have Ancient Otter, which you can currently see on the stream at the moment, which it came from sort of like a Mayan-esque sort of inspiration, and it's the home for Geo.
So we're back in the main menu now, and as you can see, we can choose between free for all, and we also have a team game mode as well. That's some of the maps that you'll feature, and here is the lowdown of the objectives that you'll find in the Ottoman Empire. Okay, thank you for that question, Ricky. So Ricky asked, who are the team's favorite characters? So myself, it's a hard one to choose. Quite like Mr. Bubbles. He's an interesting character. He's a fish in a mech suit essentially, and what he kind of offers up the players is a little bit of an opportunity to not play as an otter and play as something that's kind of mechanical. Chris is sat opposite me at the moment. Chris, what about you? Yeah, Mr. Bubbles is Chris's favorite as well. What about you, Simran?
Mine is Lyra.
Lyra.
It's a difficult one. It's a choice between her and Mr. Bubbles, but Lyra, because she and Astrid were the first two otters we ever designed, and she's been kind of the one who's been with us the longest, and she's the cutest one of the lot as well, and I love her special ability. She's my favourite.
Amazing. I think we've got another question coming through from Dan's Distillery as well that says, have you thought about DLC adding new levels and characters after the game launches? Yes, absolutely. Like I said previously, we want to support the game post-launch. Kind of the launch of the Ottoman Empire is kind of the starting point for the game. We want to work with the community, work with our player base to kind of go back and forth with them to know what they want next. We have a few characters still in the works that we would like to reveal at a later date, but it'll all be informed by player feedback. After the game comes out, we want to know what it is that you would like to see in the Ottoman Empire, what different character types you'd like to see, and different locations as well. Set in the world of Otterspace, we can kind of do whatever we want and whatever the community wants. So jump in our Discord with us, come and be part of the community, because all of this game has been crafted with the community in mind. So Cool Kid Canal said, what is your favorite thing about the game? You can take this one if you want, Simran. What do you...
My favorite aspect is the social aspect. Let's say in today's sort of modern industry, we don't see a lot of split screen. And although obviously we as developers have got a bit of a bias towards games we've played so long, one thing that I've always found myself being able to forget that we've worked on this game so long is the split screen element. Just how it's really good at bringing people together and actually sitting down next to each other, that social aspect of the game, and being able to just enjoy having the physical presence of your friends with you as you're playing the game, that shared experience. That's what I love about the game anyway.
Yeah, that's something that we wanted to do from the offset, really. We sat down and we wanted to kind of pay homage to all the games that we grew up playing, because at the end of the day we grew up playing games on the same couch as each other, and that's kind of led to a lot of the relationships that we have now with our friends, and I think sometimes that's lost in online gaming. There's not to say there's not a place for both in the industry, and that's why we would like to maybe explore the implementation of an online feature on the Ottoman Empire. But from the offset, we wanted to create like a fast action party game that will get you loving and hating your friends in the same match. Welcome Tronops. Are we? I think we know.
I know who that user is. Hello, Hayden.
Hayden's a good friend of ours, and he helps us out with Gamers Unite, which is the events that we do in Manchester. Always blame Chris.
Hashtag blame Chris. Bit of
Always
context
blame
behind that. Basically, if this game ever breaks, it is Chris's fault, and that is where the hashtag blame Chris RG originates from.
Oh, thank you for that, Ricky. Ricky said he loves the design and he thinks it's brilliant. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you. That means a lot to us. I think one of the biggest things for us as developers is to make a game that looks and is as accessible to as many age ranges as possible. We kind of set out to make a product that looked like a kind of Nickelodeon Disney product that we all loved and adored. The characters kind of embody a lot of that as well.
I could jump in on that question really quickly, if that's cool.
Yeah,
Ratchet & Clank was one of the biggest inspirations for our art style, jumping on that Nickelodeon sort of feel that Kieran jumped on before. Ratchet & Clank was a huge inspiration when looking at anthropomorphic animals and adapting them to a video game character.
Of course, of course. Yeah, I can talk about that. So, although it is a multiplayer focused game, we do have a single player campaign. That campaign basically spans across the 8 worlds of Otterspace and features all of the objectives that you'll find in the multiplayer. And what the campaign is all about is about honing your skills, learning the skills that you'll take into the multiplayer, while facing the arch enemy, which is Tico. You'll go across the Ottoman Empire and build up your team to take on Tico, and it'll teach you, like we said, some of the key elements of what will be featured in the multiplayer. Let me have a look. So as you can see on the screen now, we're in a battle arena. This is Croc, who is in the top right hand corner. This is her world. This is kind of the epicenter of a lot of the battle games that you'll come across in the Ottoman Empire. Each character has its own world, and each world features the characteristics of that character, and each character kind of feels at home in those environments. As you can see as well, we've just come into contact with one of the environmental hazards. Each world features an environmental hazard that comes in the 3rd round of each multiplayer match. So as you can tell, the players start to scramble when they have to keep in mind something that changes in the environment around them to kind of stay on top of the game. Go live. Amazing, thank you for that, Tronops. We really appreciate it. What are some of the games that you guys... I've lost the bottom. Well, at the moment, we're really focused on kind of supporting the Ottoman Empire into the future. And kind of the game that we see releasing next week is kind of the start of that process. We want the game to kind of transform and change as the community get involved, which it has done. Now we've been in development for 3 years. The game looks a lot different than it did when we first started this, and every step of the way we've grown our community, and we have grown our community, and they've influenced our decisions every step of the way. Because we didn't want to develop the game in kind of a bubble. We wanted to open it up to our community members and get their say on the game's development. Yeah. Yes. So the question was, did you guys think of any clever names for the achievements? Yes, we have a few clever names for the achievements, but I think you'll have to play the game to find out. There's a few short-term, kind of long-term achievements in there that hopefully will give enough for people to sink their teeth into. And I can promise you, throughout the game, there's a lot of puns.
Lots of puns.
A lot of otter puns as well. But yeah, thank you for that question. Keep the questions coming in, because this is kind of one of our first time showcasing the game in all its glory. So we want to give you as much information as possible. Love the puns. We also love the puns. Thank you. Probably the name. We quite like the name.
My favourite is a bit of a cliche. I love Utterly Amazing.
Utterly Amazing. I like that one. So as you can tell, we're just about to jump into another match here. And we are on the beach island. This is the home of one of our characters that you won't see in the demo today, the turtle. And the objective is repair the robots. The objective of repair the robots is to gather the pieces and repair the robots before your other team. This features our kind of team gameplay, which was always a core element of our during development. We wanted to kind of pit 4 people against each other, teams of 2, in the same environment, just because of the chaos that ensues. So the characters that you can see at the moment is Noah in the top left-hand corner. He's our sniper class. He's wearing a sombrero. As you can tell, kind of from the puns to the characters to the character customizations, we're quite light-hearted in our approach to the options that we give the player. So we want to give them the wackiest, the craziest.
Try not to take that too seriously. I think the game kind of reflects that.
Of course, yeah. We always set out to make like a light-hearted, fun, crazy party game that looked as accessible to anyone. We didn't want to kind of base it in, say we would have based it in kind of Modern Warfare. We'd be very limited on what we could implement into the game, what ideas we could come up with our community. And it was important that we didn't have those restrictions on us. Tez the turtle, yeah, his name is Tez. Yeah.
He was one of the longest ones to name. We didn't have a name for him for a very, very long time.
That's it. And moving forward as well, like we said, come and be part of our Discord community, because as we develop new characters, as we develop new locations, we want your input on what those locations and what those characters will be.
Oh, thank you. Bless it.
Really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you so much. So yeah, we're going into round 2 now, and this objective is called Battery Banker. You must pick up the batteries, charge the batteries, and fill up the banker. And the first team to fill up the banker get multiple points. They get a points multiplier. There's a few little quirks in there as well that mean that those who complete the objective kind of get the upper hand. 100%. So we've just got a question through there. Will the game feature a story mode? Yes, there is a single player and 2-player cooperative campaign where you will go across the Ottoman Empire and build your team to take on the evil otter Tico. As we've said before, the objective of that campaign is to teach you the mechanics, teach you the objectives that you'll take into the multiplayer and kind of hone your skills, as well as exploring kind of each character, their strengths and weaknesses, and what they have to offer. thank you for that question, Dan Distillery. He said, I know split screen is an important feature, but with the Switch version, are you able to play in handheld, having your own screen? If that is pertaining to single player, then yes, you'll be able to hold the Switch and play single player with the Joy-Cons connected, but multiplayer must be played in either tabletop mode or docked. So so Ricky's just asked what the Discord handle is. If you, Simran, would you kindly put the Discord handle into the chat for us, please? Like we said, if you jump into the Discord, we have giveaways, we have competitions. We're running a design character competition at the moment.
And we have a new competition being announced tomorrow as well.
Say that again, please, Simran.
And we have another competition being announced tomorrow, which I think you're all going to love.
Yeah, so come and be part of our community. We're in there every day. We're chatting back and forth with our community members, some of which who have come in and tested the game over the years that we've been developing it. So we have quite a close relationship with our community because we think it's important to have their input as we're developing the game that is for them. So some of our favorite objectives include, well, mine personally, hoop dive's a big one for me because I'm quite big on traversal. So racing other players to the hoop to get through the hoop and traverse the environment is kind of my bread and butter. But what's yours, Simran?
Oh, you actually just summed it up perfectly. Hoop dive is my absolute favourite as well, but mainly for the competitive aspect of it, because I find it just very, very competitive. You know, you miss it by that one little tiny centimetre and that other person gets in for you, and that creates some very, very rage, but also joyful inducing moments.
So we've just got a question through that says, what's some advice for other indie game developers? At the moment, we're kind of off the back of what I've just said, being kind of open with your community and building up that community from early on is very important, because it kind of gets you out of your bubble or your echo chamber, and gives you the opportunity to test your game or your project every step of the way. And even if that's not a community based around your game or your studio, get involved with other indie game communities, other game development communities, and fire it off them, because there's people with years of knowledge and experience that can really impact your game's development. When we first set out to kind of build the Otterman Empire, we had multiplayer at its core, and then from various feedback, then we decided to go down the campaign route and build out a single player experience that would teach the players how to play the game and how to master the objectives. And yes, you can wishlist the game on Steam following the link that Simran's just posted in the chat there. Oh, is it you? Sorry, Dan. Yeah, so as we're jumping back into some gameplay now, as you said, we can do free for all and team. We're going to be going to Volcanico. This is the home planet of Mr. Bubbles, who has an interesting backstory that you can explore kind of in the environment. There's little cues to who he is as a character.
On that note.
Oh, thank you for that. So
just to jump on that previous note that Kieran mentioned, that when you do actually manage to get into the game itself, there are many hints to all the characters' backstories in the environments of their respective planets, so be sure to keep an eye out.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Chris is helping me out off screen at the moment to control the temperature of the room, because it's getting unbelievable. Tanner says, game's looking great, guys. Thank you, Tanner. Tanner was one of the core programmers on the game for a long time. So thank you, Tanner, for being part of the team and contributing to kind of what the game is today. Simran, you can take this.
Yes, the game is localized in Spanish, French, German, Italian, simplified Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. We wanted to kind of tackle as many different regions as humanly possible, and localization can be quite a time-consuming process. But based on, as I say, building this game alongside our community and getting that gauge of where our community was based around the world, those were the languages we chose to kind of focus our attention on.
Of course, and off the back of that as well, what we wanted to do is once the game's launched, we wanted to kind of not limit where we get some of our feedback from. We wanted to get inspiration from all different countries, all different people. We want people to be actively involved in the game's development, even post-launch, to kind of influence the features that we implement moving forward. So Cool Kid Kanan said, what engine did you use for the game? We use Unreal Engine, and I don't know if anyone else saw this, but we were funded by Epic Games as part of their Epic Mega Grants, which was amazing. So we can't thank Epic enough.
Big thank you to Epic Games. Thank you so
Big
much.
thank you for that. They're very good at supporting some of the smaller developers, and it's really helped us kind of get the game over the finishing line.
Just had an observation from Ricky in the chat saying Gio looks like a bad boy. He is a bad boy indeed.
He is. As you can see, what's happening on the screen at the moment, we're in Repair the Robot on Volcanico. As you can tell, the game doesn't really hold off on pacing. At the beginning of the round, it's straight into the action. And that's why we limited the rounds to a 2-minute round, because we wanted that fast fire action, and then we wanted you to take a breather and sit back, gather your thoughts, see where the scores were at, and then go at it again. Let me I now don't. Honestly.
Yeah.
Getting frizzy.
In case anyone hasn't gathered, the team is in desperate need of haircut.
Desperate need of a haircut. Desperate need of a haircut and desperate need of a shave as well.
We're all kind of in need of a lot of haircuts here at the studio.
Pamela Amblerson. Thank you for that, Pamela Amblerson. Thank you for that. So I think the best approach at the moment as well, because we want to obviously maybe implement online moving forward, but at the moment we've been using Steam Remote Play, and that's a great feature for players in Steam. You can kind of get that local co-op party action while doing it from the comfort of your home, especially at the moment with the circumstances that we all find ourselves in. It was important for us to get that up and running, to offer that up to the players. Okay, so yeah, if Simran, if you want to give us a little bit of an overview of who created the music, and what we were kind of setting out to.
So, on the subject of the music, that was created by a very, very good friend of ours who we actually went to university with, called Martin Stonehouse. He's a very experienced indie-orientated music creator, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal from the get-go, because the thing with the Otterman Empire is we really, really wanted to have the music reflect the chaos in the game, and obviously because the game's fast-paced nature, the music had to be very, very adaptable and also conveying that to the youth player as well. And he's just been absolutely phenomenal at that. So big shout and big love to Martin. The game wouldn't even sound the way it is without him.
Yeah. What we wanted to do with the sound, with the music as well, is we wanted to kind of embody each of the locations and each of the character. So the design process followed a similar suit every time, which was we sent over the concepts of the characters, the environments. We sent them over videos of the gameplay and how fast-paced it was, and based on that, he came up with these incredible soundtracks that were kind of sounded very like 80s cartoonish, very retro, but kind of fitted the world perfectly as well. So Tronops asked, how does it feel to be at the final push after 3 years? It's very overwhelming. It's incredible, and we just can't wait for everyone to get their hands on it, really, and to see what's next for the Otterman Empire, and the way the product can kind of mold and change as the months and years go on, because we've built it kind of from the ground up with our community. We want to make sure that continues moving forward. Dan Stilly said, yeah, definitely looking great, and it looks like a lot of fun. It's taking me back to the old, I think it's cutting off the bottom of my screen there, old school multiplayer. Is really looking forward to trying it. Thank you for that. We really appreciate that. That's what we kind of wanted to pay homage to. We wanted to pay homage to GoldenEye and Mario Kart and all these games that we grew up playing, that kind of gets lost when you look at multiplayers now. So taking the fundamentals of what we grew up playing, and kind of trying to capture those emotions again. So that's a great question. Who's the best player on the team? Well, for the longest time it was Brad, but I think recently I'd like to say me, but I'm sure Simran would disagree.
I think there's only one way to settle this. We might have to have a live play of the game, and we'll let the community decide who's the better player.
Of course, definitely.
See who's the best one.
What do you hope the most about the game?
I think that's a question regards what are our main hopes for the game, if I'm correct.
Our main hopes for the game is that it gives people the opportunity to like fight and play and enjoy themselves in the same room as their siblings or their friends or their family members, because I think at the moment, especially, that's kind of what we need, is to kind of bring people together, and have those moments where you're beating someone and then you get beaten at the last second, and the emotions that kind of brings out of everyone, and that's quite important to us as developers, because at the end of the day, kind of games are what brought us together, and are why kind of we made games together as well, is to strengthen those relationships. But yeah, thank you for that question. Thank you. Yep, so we're in Ice Quarry at the moment, and we're going for Squidditch. Ice Quarry is Noah's level. He's the watchful protector of the Ice Quarry. Ice Quarry is where they kind of extract all of the water that you see around all of the worlds, that the otters use to swim and replenish their ammo and jetpack fuel.
This was actually the second map we ever created as well. With Otterpolis being the first ever map we created, the Ice Quarry was the second map ever created for the game.
Yeah, and Ice Quarry was also kind of an experiment to see how vertical we could go with the maps. Traditionally, multiplayer is very horizontal. It's larger maps, whereas we wanted to, with the use of the jetpacks and stuff, we wanted to see if we could create more of a vertical dynamic and how that would impact each of the objectives and the party play. Can you repeat that, please? So the question was, what kind of character customization do we have in the game? So the character customization is purely aesthetic. What we wanted to do is kind of have the characters' abilities, their size, the way they traverse the environment, really be the differentiating factor between them. And we didn't really want to add things to that would mean that any item was better than another. So it's purely aesthetic. We've got hats and toppers and jetpacks. We've got skins, and it stretches from anything from a sombrero to we have some of our in-game items in there as well as customization options.
As we said before, we don't really take ourselves too seriously as developers, and the game kind of reflects that. The same as the customization, you can go as crazy with it as you want. We didn't want it to be really this dead serious thing. Just mix and match a load of really, really cool stuff together.
And again, that was something that we opened up to the community. We wanted to know what items, what outfits they liked to see the most, what mix of our outfits they wanted to see. So it's important that we give kind of a breadth of options. Thank you for that question, Tronops. What inspired the maps? Well, Simran, you can take this if you'd like.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, Kieran was actually one of the main level designers for the game. But as we say, for us, verticality was a big thing, because in the original prototype, we had these great maps that were good for exploring on foot, but they didn't really take the jetpacks into consideration. So each map was meant to sort of hone and really orientate towards the jetpack deal and traversal, but it also caters to those players that are going to be trapped on the ground and using the rivers. So for us, a big thing was making a map that was small in size, I'd say similar to Splatoon, one of our greatest influences, but also being able to sort of keep everything confined in the fast-paced nature of the game and keep players constantly coming back on each other so that they can complete the objectives, fight each other, and also just be able to embrace the verticality of the game.
Yeah, of course, and that was some of the earliest feedback we got, where people were like confused with how kind of small the maps can be, but it was important for us to keep that momentum and maintain the level of kind of the fast-paced nature of the game as well, because sometimes you can get lost in a multiplayer map and spend time just running around and not really being part of the action. But the whole point of this is you even if you die, you jump back in within 3 seconds, which means that your heart's racing for 2 minutes really and doesn't really stop. So, well, thank you for that question. For anyone joining at the moment, this is the Otterman Empire. It's a fast action party shooter. It's a split screen shooter set in Otterspace, and it's coming out next week on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PC. Yes, absolutely. So some of the specials that the characters possess are kind of unique to their skill set. We have Croc, who's a boxer. Her main weapons, you'll see her at the bottom right hand corner of the screen. She has magnetic gloves that detach and come back, and her special is a kind of a flurry where she spins around and drags anything around her into her area of effect. Whereas we also see a bigger character like Geo, where his special ability is a rage, which kind of turns him into the most animalistic version of the characters that we see in the Otterman Empire.
Mr. Bubbles is my favourite for his ultimate ability.
Yeah. Mr. Bubbles detaches himself from his own legs, and you can spend, say, 10 seconds running around as his legs before you self-detonate and take anyone with you. Yeah, so what we wanted to do is kind of, we had these characters that we wanted to create and these locations, and when we were coming up with the objectives, we took all of those special abilities and all of those different characteristics into consideration when we were developing the objectives, to make sure that each character kind of fit an objective but didn't necessarily have an advantage over that. It was just what they are catered for. So like if you can see in the top right hand of the screen, we have Astrid, who has a drone that once activated will shoot everything around you. Yeah, so now we're going to go into the 3-player match, which is something we wanted to show off today because it features kind of a fourth camera that we really love, and we need
a lot of our community have asked how this 3-player split screen would actually work as well, because it's not something you see quite a lot. So yeah, we wanted to be able to show you this as well.
So this is Tico's Gardens, where you'll start and end the campaign for the Ottoman Empire, and you'll see around some characteristics of the character that you'll become familiar with as you play through the game. As we see, we see Hoop Dive is the first objective. A lot of these environmental hazards, a lot of these objectives were created by Tico, so they kind of lend themselves to who he is as a character, and the predicament that the Ottoman Empire find themselves in. That fourth camera there is a spectator cam, so you can kind of gauge where the action's happening in the environment at any one time. So our sound team featured 3 sound engineers. We have James Allison, we have Joe Folds, and we have Chris Fraser. And they've helped us out over the past 3 years to kind of bring our characters to life, giving each character their own characteristics and giving them their own personality. I thought you were asking a question then about what do you think of the maps? Dan's Distillery says yes, definitely looking great and looks like a lot of fun. It's taking me back to the old school multiplayers. I really like that because that's kind of what we set out to do. We wanted to pay homage to some of the games that we know and love, while basing it in a world that didn't kind of limit us on what we could develop and what we could implement into there. So the game now, compared to the game in a year, could look so much different based on all the community input that we have. So our best moment working on the game, it's probably been when we can show it off and when we can get people playing it together at events, seeing the look on people's faces and seeing the dynamic where they're shouting or they're kind of celebrating when they're winning and angry when they lose. Or that's kind of the best part of this game's development is seeing the reaction of players when we take it to events, especially after we've just implemented new features as well. When there's something that we're maybe not sure on and we can put it in front of our player base that know us and that have met us previously, to kind of gauge their reaction is very important to us. At the moment, we have no plans to release the game physically. It can be quite an expensive process for developers, and for indie developers it's not necessarily realistic sometimes, so possibly in the future, but at the moment we have no concrete plans to release physically. You can download the game digitally on the Nintendo eShop, on the Xbox Store and on Steam. from next week.
It's just to jump back on Kieran's previous point, we like to be very open with our community and honest about how the development of the game goes, and physical copies, as Kieran said, can be quite an expensive process and very difficult for us to achieve. But we love having these sort of conversations and talking about the realities and the struggles and the processes of game development and these sort of things with our community.
So that was around finished. We're going into round 3 now. So what you'll see is, especially in Tico's Gardens, we have a random environmental hazard. So keep your eye out for what that'll be. That kind of changes the dynamic of the round when people have to pay attention to the environment around them and what's changing. The characters playing this are Noah in the top left-hand corner, we have Geo on the top right-hand corner, and we have Astrid in the bottom left. Each character's kind of own strengths and weaknesses are kind of displayed in the playing style as well. Noah in the top left-hand corner is a sniper, so he feels at home when you're perched on a building far away, or when you're trying to get a 360 no scope mid jetpack. Whereas Astrid is more about getting into the action, as you can tell, getting into the action, completing the objective, taking out who she needs to take out, and then getting out of there. Whereas Geo is more about brute force and wiping out the competition. The red band that you can see generating across the level is the environmental hazard, which is the bomb squad. It is kind of a flurry of bombs that aim for the strip. Say that again. Oh, Carnage has just joined the Discord. Thank you, Carnage. That's amazing. Welcome to the team. Welcome to the team. Yeah, so at the end of this, we've got the documentary that kind of goes into who we are as a team, kind of the fundamentals of Tryhard Interactive and kind of what we hold dear as a development studio. Also a little bit of an intro into kind of what has gone into developing the game. And that's part 1 of a documentary. The second part will be out next week, so keep your eye out for that. And yeah, we have... Absolutely. Amazing. So I think we'll be going into the documentary now. So I will probably shut up for a bit.
We'll all be quiet now and let you enjoy
it. Unless we have one more match. No, there we go.
Neither the initial release nor the 2016 follow-up ever really lived up to our expectations.
7% of those games that launched on Steam actually made enough money that the studio would survive.
I think that there are far too many games flooding virtually every gaming platform imaginable.
The industry was in a bit of a crazy place when we started development. Like we were getting told from friends and colleagues that the indie apocalypse was nigh, and that sales were plummeting, and it was harder and harder to kind of make a name for yourself.
And we've already done stories like this in the past about Steam being flooded with more and more titles as the years go on. Well, guys, It's not slowing down.
So here is the amount of games released in 2016 on Steam, 4,200.
And about 82% of those didn't even make minimum wage.
Tryhard Interactive is a community-driven development studio. We're an indie studio, we make games, and we were formed in 2017 when we were a bunch of students straight out of uni. And I'd never actually met any of the guys I'd set the studio with before. A guy in uni came up to me and asked me what I'd set up a studio with him, and now he's my business partner 3 years later.
Yeah.
It's the worst decision of my life.
We knew that Steam was becoming more and more saturated, especially on the kind of the AAA side. And then from an indie side, it was because the market was getting so oversaturated, it was really hard to stand out. Really hard to stand out without a solid community base.
Our sort of answer came was building a brand that people trust, and that doesn't mean necessarily a brand orientated around games.
We envisioned it a lot like Kind of Funny and those kind of guys where they were creating content around stuff that they loved, and it just happened to have built a community that were also passionate with not just the games that we make or the products that we make, but also us as individuals and us, the team dynamic.
You got to think about it. I've put out a song a week for like 2 years because I had to blow up. Before I got a SoundCloud, I put out 11 projects, and I stopped doing that because I had made a 12th one. And instead of just putting it out like I did with all the other 11 ones, I need to blow up first before I just put out another project on deaf ears. So that's when I came up with the approach of a song a week on SoundCloud.
So we set out making vlogs and making content.
There's this process I like to call procedurally generated fame, and it can be just like that, a load of luck. We see this with meme sort of games like the Untitled Goose Game, but for every Untitled Goose Game there's thousands of really cool indie games that just don't get noticed. Our sort of solution became, let's build a brand that encompasses many different elements to it that people will know us from, and then we can drive that traffic back to sort of our products and our games.
What eventually transcribes is that making a game is really hard.
Making games is hard.
Making games is ridiculously hard.
It's fucking hard.
I was 21, 2021, now 23. A lot changes in that time. We're not students anymore. That kind of the mixing that work and kind of friendship relationship is always a task. But we're doing all right.
The podcast is the Games Unite podcast. Basically, we like talking, we love talking to each other about the industry. We talk a lot of rubbish as well. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I had to walk in at some point. So today we have Tanner and we were just kind of coming out the honeymoon phase of working out how we worked as a team, finalising what the product would look like. And then I walked in one day and we didn't have a ceiling.
I'm one of these, I laugh in the face of dread. To me, the whole situation was funny, but it really wasn't as funny as it was. So we basically had no consensus of where the team was to gather. We basically just came to a whole... We set up an office in Starbucks Piccadilly. So we worked in Starbucks Piccadilly for 4 months.
We'd never worked remotely as a team before. I found it really hard because running a team, it was kind of nice to have everyone in the same room and everyone on the same page. But then we had none of that. So what followed was 4 months of a mental struggle for a lot of us of where is this game going? We didn't know really how to track where everyone was in development and how far along the product was going to be. But then we found our place, which is our new place. What followed was the ceiling came through again, but we were still in the same place, so it's all right.
Development hell, where everything goes wrong for no apparent reason. Always a fun time, especially when I've got Kieran and breathe down my neck about it. You need so many disciplines in so many areas to actually even make a competent game, never mind an amazing one. audio engineers, artists, graphic designers, gameplay designers. There are so many individuals and so many different crafts that I think it's almost a miracle that games actually get finished. Like even Red Dead isn't perfect, despite what Simran says. Yeah.
You know, you've got things like bugs, breaking things. These are all things that are going to happen. That is game development. AAA games launch with bugs all the time. The hardest thing for us has been building the community and the business side of it. The things that they don't teach you, the things that nobody talks about that are extremely important. Things like setting up localization and how long that takes and how expensive that can be. Setting up Steam pages, getting stuff submitted to lot check. Dev kits. How do you build a community when you don't have the money behind to afford mass marketing teams, get people to listen to you? So you've got to stand out, but how do you stand out? And it is a roll of the die. You know, we did get lucky now, we've got a quite decent community behind us, especially in Discord, but again, that came from procedurally generated, you know. It was one post that did it for me.
Gamers Unite is like the embodiment of our community. It's the place where everyone can come, no matter if you're a gamer or a developer, and connect over the things that we love, which are games at the end of the day. What we wanted to do with Gamers Unite is have that become a hub in Manchester for gamers, developers, journalists to come and have a conversation and actually talk about what actually goes into a game's development before it's even released. Simran started Gamers Unite a year or two before I came on board. What it's slowly become is kind of the other half of the business.
We were at a venue where I couldn't do a lot with the event. I wanted to change the whole structure of it, and Kieran came on as a brand manager to work alongside me as business partners for the event, and it's been a huge, amazing journey. It's like watching the baby go from its first steps, start getting really good grades at school, and then go on its way to university. We did a big rebrand at launch event, which has been my favourite event to date. And following that, we had the 2019 year where it's sort of solidified what it is now. This is what the new Gamers Unite is.
We just finished the game's development. We're coming up to release. It kind of signifies like a bit of a shift in the team's dynamic, in what the company are trying to achieve this year.
It's scary, you know, it's been 3 years, but it's there now. Big moment. Not just for obviously the game, what we look forward to doing with, but beyond that, you know, the events, the podcast, there's a lot we want to do. And now that we're sort of coming towards the end, there's a lot more that we've got planned for the brand and what we want to do as a team and as a studio moving forward.
This is where our 5 and 10 year plan come into place. Just kind of as the game's launch comes up soon. Yeah, I think that's it really. Yep. Right. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be jumping on a stream next week. So come and have a chat with us, join our Discord, come and be part of the conversation with us, because we're going to be in there forever now. And remember, the Otterman Empire is out a week today on the 2nd of July on Nintendo Switch, Xbox and PC. Again, this has been Kieran, and
this has been Simran. Thank you all for coming, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
This has been Simran and Kieran from Try Out Interactive. Yeah, thank you.